Brought to you by Penguin.
Brighton Rock by Graham Greene. Read by Samuel West.
Part 1. Chapter 1. Hale knew before he had been in Brighton 3 hours that they meant to murder him. With his inky fingers and his bitten nails, his manner cynical and nervous, anybody could tell he didn't belong to the early summer sun, the cool Whitsun wind off the sea, the holiday crowd. They came in by train from Victoria every 5 minutes, rocked down Queen's Road standing on the tops of the little local trams, stepped off in bewildered multitudes into fresh and glittering air. The new silver paint sparkled on the piers. The cream houses ran away into the west like a pale Victorian watercolour. A race in miniature motors, a band playing, flower gardens in bloom below the front, an aeroplane advertising something for the health in pale vanishing clouds across the sky. It had seemed quite easy to Hale to be lost in Brighton. 50,000 people besides himself were down for the day, and for quite a while he gave himself up to the good day, drinking gins and tonics wherever his programme allowed. For he had to stick closely to a programme. From 10 till 11, Queen's Road and Castle Square. From 11 till 12, the Aquarium and Palace Pier. 12 till 1, the front between the Old Ship and West Pier. Back for lunch between 1 and 2 in any restaurant he chose round the Castle Square. And after that he had to make his way all down the parade to the West Pier, and then to the station by the Hove Streets. These were the limits of his absurd and widely advertised sentry go. Advertised on every messenger poster, Colley Kibber in Brighton today. In his pocket he had a packet of cards to distribute in hidden places along his route. Those who found them would receive 10 shillings from the messenger, but the big prize was reserved for whoever challenged Hale in the proper form of words and with a copy of the messenger in his hand. "You are Mr. Colley Kibber. I claim the Daily Messenger prize." This was Hale's job, to do sentry go until a challenger released him, in every seaside town in turn. Yesterday Southend, today Brighton, tomorrow... He drank his gin and tonic hastily as a clock struck 11 and moved out of Castle Square. Colley Kibber always played fair, always wore the same kind of hat as in the photograph the messenger printed, was always on time. Yesterday in Southend he had been unchallenged. The paper liked to save its guineas occasionally, but not too often. It was his duty today to be spotted. And it was his inclination, too. There were reasons why he didn't feel too safe in Brighton, even in a Whitsun crowd. He leant against the rail near the Palace Pier and showed his face to the crowd as it uncoiled endlessly past him like a twisted piece of wire, 2 by 2, each with an air of sober and determined gaiety. They had stood all the way from Victoria in crowded carriages. They would have to wait in queues for lunch. At midnight, half asleep, they would rot back in trains to the cramped streets and the closed pubs and the weary walk home. With immense labour and immense patience, they extricated from the long day the grain of pleasure, this sun, this music, the rattle of the miniature cars, the ghost train diving between the grinning skeletons under the Aquarium promenade, the sticks of Brighton rock, the paper sailors' caps. Nobody paid any attention to Hale. No one seemed to be carrying a messenger. He deposited one of his cards carefully on the top of a little basket and moved on, with his bitten nails in his inky fingers, alone. He only felt his loneliness after his 3rd gin. Until then he despised the crowd, but afterwards he felt his kinship. He had come out of the same streets, but he was condemned by his higher pay to pretend to want other things. And all the time the piers, the peep-shows pulled at his heart. He wanted to get back, but all he could do was to carry his sneer along the front, the badge of loneliness. Somewhere out of sight a woman was singing "When I Came Up from Brighton by the Train," a rich Guinness voice, a voice from a public bar. Hale turned into the private saloon and watched her big blown charms across 2 bars and through a glass partition. She wasn't old, somewhere in the late 30s or the early 40s, and she was only a little drunk in a friendly accommodation.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?